Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into human geography, but we're going to look at it through a really fascinating lens. I want you to literally imagine human society as a massive, breathing, living organism. Just like your own body has veins, arteries, and a nervous system to keep everything pumping and alive, well, our world has this incredible, intricate web of transport and communication. These networks, they're the absolute crucial lifelines connecting scattered natural resources, those bustling factories, and everyday consumers like you and me. Without them, the high living standards and complex mass production we totally rely on just won't exist. No way. Think of this as our itinerary for the day. First, we'll map out the lifelines of society, then look at conquering the land, navigating the global waters, exploring pipelines as our hidden arteries, and finally, we'll plug right into the cyberspace nervous system. Okay, Section 1, the lifelines of society. Let's jump right in and explore the fundamental infrastructure that makes our modern world tick. Now, to really wrap our heads around this, we need to define the basic building blocks of our geographical organism. Whenever we talk about a transport network, we're really just looking at two simple things: nodes and links. So a node is a place, maybe a bustling city, a massive factory, or a busy port. And a link? That's just the route joining them together, like a highway or a railway line. When you connect a bunch of these nodes with a series of links, boom, you get a pattern. And that pattern is the actual transportation network that makes all of global trade possible. And this brings us to the core problem transport networks actually solve, which is totally geographical. See, on one side, we have producing centers, places just rich in natural resources or heavy on manufacturing. But on the other side, we have consuming centers, markets packed with people who actually need those goods. And guess what? These two are almost never in the same place. There's this huge geographic gap. So transport is basically the essential bridge that closes that gap, allowing each region to just focus on producing what it does best. Moving right along to Section 2, conquering the land. Let's take a look at how humanity's physical conquest of distance evolved on solid ground. Way back in the day, the scale of land transport was entirely micro. Humans themselves were the primary carriers. Think of porters carrying heavy loads, or even a bride being carried in a palanquin. Over time, obviously, we drafted animals like mules, horses, and camels to haul our cargo. But the real game changer, that macro-scale revolution, that hit with the invention of the steam engine in the 18th century. By 1825, the very first public railway line opened in northern England, and it completely revolutionized how fast and how incredibly far we could move goods and people across continental interiors. Fast forward to today, and internal combustion engines have completely transformed our landscape. Just look at the sheer scale of the result here. Our modern road networks account for a staggering 15 million kilometers globally. But because roads offer that direct point-to-point service, they get completely overwhelmed during rush hours, leading to this chronic, pull-your-hair-out congestion we literally see every single day. So how on earth do we fix it? Well, cities can't exactly just pave over everything, right? Instead, they have to implement some actionable urban transport solutions to unclog these vital arteries. We're talking about strategies like hiking up parking fees to discourage people from driving in the first place, investing heavily in mass rapid transit, or MRT systems, upgrading public bus services, and building dedicated expressways, routing that heavy traffic around the city centers rather than plowing right through them. Now, for moving truly bulky goods across vast empty interiors, honestly, roads just don't cut it. That's where we really rely on massive rail networks. Take the Transcontinental Australian Railway, for example. It is a vital link crossing the vast southern part of the continent, connecting Perth all the way over in the west to Sydney in the east. Even today, railways remain the absolute great freight carriers of the land, heavily outperforming trucks when we're talking about massive, long-distance haulage. To really appreciate the power of rail, I want you to imagine something. Imagine traveling from London all the way to Istanbul. Historically, doing this journey by sea was a grueling, miserable 10-day voyage. Then came the famous Orient Express, running right through Paris, Munich, Vienna, and Belgrade. So how drastically do you think the shiny new train cut down that travel time? The answer is 96 hours. Think about that. It took a 10-day sea voyage and just crushed it down to 4 days. And hey, it wasn't just for luxury passengers either. This hyper-efficient rail route became a vital artery for transporting massive quantities of exports. We're talking cheese, bacon, wine, and even heavy machinery right across Europe. All right, let's pivot to Section 3, navigating the global waters. How do we move millions of tons of heavy cargo across the entire globe without going totally bankrupt? We look away from the land. When you compare it to land and air, ocean transport is just incredibly cheap for hauling bulky materials over massive distances. And why is that? Well, because the ocean is basically a ready-made, incredibly smooth highway. It's traversable in all directions, and honestly, the best part, there are absolutely no maintenance costs for the route itself. No paving, no track laying. You just load up specialized cargo ships and those massive containers, and you can connect continents super economically. But here's a crucial point. Water transport isn't just for the open sea. Rivers actually act as incredibly important inland highways of commerce. The Rhine River, flowing through Europe, is a perfect example of this. But to make it work, human ingenuity had to step in. The river has been heavily modified. They dredged it to be deeper, stabilized its banks, and regulated it with dams, just to ensure a smooth, navigable flow for major international trade between countries like Switzerland, Germany, and the Netherlands. And going straight from the map to reality, you can see how these heavy barges take full advantage of this deep, wide, and heavily modified waterway to transport both domestic and international goods. It's really a perfectly integrated system that completely complements the road and rail networks we have on land. Moving on to Section 4, Pipelines, the Hidden Arteries. Let's see how we manage to transport materials through a completely invisible, uninterrupted flow right underground. So pipelines are literally the hidden arteries of our geographical organism. Now, we all know they carry water, petroleum, and natural gas, right? But they are far more versatile than you might think. Did you know pipelines can actually transport liquefied coal? Yeah, and it gets even better. Over in New Zealand, pipelines are actually used to pump milk directly from dairy farms straight into the factories. That is a continuous, surface-free method of transport running 24/7. How cool is that? And finally, Section 5, the cyberspace nervous system. Here, we transition from the physical movement of cargo to the instantaneous movement of information. Now, just as physical transport evolved, our communication network took some massive technological leaps. Back in the 19th century, the telegraph was completely instrumental in colonizing the American West, connecting these incredibly distant outposts. Then, by the 20th century, the telephone centralized businesses. Companies could suddenly put their headquarters in a major city and instantly connect with branch offices everywhere. And now, here in the 21st century, we have the internet, creating this vast cyberspace nervous system of e-commerce, e-learning, and e-governance. Which brings us to the real culmination of our journey today. Because while trains and ships moved our physical bodies and our goods, it's actually this electronic nervous system that truly shrank the world. Cyberspace allows millions of us to connect instantly, which has fundamentally altered human geography and really made this whole concept of a global village an actual reality. Which leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder as we wrap up. Think about it. We started with human porters carrying goods on their backs, and now we're moving terabytes of data through invisible networks in the sky and deep beneath the oceans. So as cyberspace continues to aggressively expand our economic and social realities, what kinds of entirely new invisible networks will human ingenuity build next? Well, thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this helped you map out the amazing anatomy of our connected world. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.